25 years of marriage, 25 years of building something together, or so I thought. You know, people always say the milestone anniversaries are the ones that matter, the ones you remember forever. They're right, but not always for the reasons you expect. Our anniversary party was at the Riverside Ballroom. I had it decorated myself, naturally. Pale gold linens, white flowers, candles everywhere. The catering company I built handled the menu. Yes, I built it. Victor would tell people we built it together, and technically he was there. But if you want to know who stayed up until 2 a.m. perfecting recipes, who handled the client relationships, who managed the finances, well, that was me. He showed up to work, smiled, and took half the credit. I was too busy being grateful to have a partner to notice that wasn't exactly fair. 237 guests came to celebrate us. Friends, family, people we'd met over the decades. My sister flew in from Oregon. My brother brought his grandkids. Victor's mother was there, wearing that look of hers, the one that said she knew something nobody else did. I found out later she'd known about the affair for months. Not that it would have made a difference, but it's interesting how many people see the truth and decide it's not their place to tell you. Victor looked handsome that night. He always did. Tall, still fit, silver hair that he was vain enough to get trimmed every 3 weeks. He gave a toast early in the evening, nothing unusual. He talked about the years we'd had, made everyone laugh with a story about our first apartment, where the bathtub flooded twice a month. He said, "To the woman who's put up with me longer than anyone should have to." Everyone clinked their glasses. I remember thinking, this is nice. This is really nice. But he wasn't finished. After dinner, after the dancing started, Victor asked for the microphone again. He said he had one more thing to say, something important. The band was playing some instrumental jazz piece. I remember that detail so clearly because the music stopped and there was that quiet that only comes right before something terrible happens. He said, "I want to be honest with everyone here. After 25 years, I've realized something. I want someone younger. I want a fresh start. I want Marlene to move out of the apartment tomorrow. We're done." Just like that, in front of 237 people, in front of his mother, in front of my sister. He stood there in his perfectly tailored suit and announced the end of my marriage like he was reading off a menu. For about 3 seconds, I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just sat there, and the silence was deafening. People didn't know where to look. Someone's wine glass clinked against a table. That's the only sound I heard. Then my sister grabbed my arm. "Marlene, don't!" But I was already up. I was already walking to the microphone. Victor saw me coming, and I watched his expression change. He thought I was going to cry. He thought I was going to beg him to take it back, or scream at him, or fall apart right there on the dance floor. I could see it in his eyes. He was braced for a scene, and he was almost hoping for it. It would make him look like the victim, the man who had to leave because his wife was too unstable. I took the microphone from his hand. He let it go without a word. I said, "Thank you all for being here. Victor's right. Let me be honest too." And then I pulled out my phone. I had photographs. I'd been having them for months because I'm not an idiot. I knew something was wrong. Victor's been coming home at midnight, saying he was at the gym. He was at the gym, technically. He was just spending his time there with Crystal, the 28-year-old aerobics instructor who apparently doesn't charge for personal training. The photographs were clear, very clear. I showed the first one to the room. Victor's face went white, actually white, like all the blood drained from his head in a single second. I said, "This is Crystal. Victor, maybe you want to tell everyone why your wedding ring is off in this picture?" Crystal was at the party. She was standing near the bar, wearing a little black dress that probably cost less than what she'd been costing Victor. When she realized what was happening, she tried to leave. I watched her head for the door, and I stopped her, not physically, just with my voice. "Honey, 1 second. Victor probably told you that he owns this ballroom, didn't he? That he owns the catering company? That he owns the apartment? That he owns those 2 cars parked outside?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. "He doesn't," I said. "He doesn't own any of it. Victor, do you want to explain to Crystal, or should I?" He didn't say anything. He just stood there, gripping the edge of the table. So I explained. "The apartment, the one he was so generously offering to let me leave, is in my name. I bought it with my inheritance in 1998, 3 years before we married. My name on the deed. My name on the mortgage, paid off since 2008, thanks to the money the catering business brought in. The catering business, which is also in my name. I registered it myself in 2001 when Victor said it was too risky. He was right, it was risky. It failed twice before it took off. Guess who kept going? The cars, both of them, financed through my business account, my insurance, my everything. But there was more. There's always more, isn't there?" I said, "Victor, I think you owe Crystal an explanation about the $85,000. Now the room was completely silent. No one was eating, no one was drinking, no one was pretending to look at their phones. Everyone was watching. $85,000 in gambling debt," I continued. "Ocean's Edge Casino, Blackhawk Club, online poker sites I didn't even know existed. Debt you've been hiding for 3 years. Debt that comes due, by the way, in about 6 weeks. I'd met with a lawyer a month ago. I knew exactly what I had. I knew exactly what I didn't have to be responsible for." I looked at Crystal. "So when Victor told you about his real estate empire and his successful business ventures, he forgot to mention the part where he's underwater by almost 6 figures? That's interesting, isn't it?" She left. She actually ran for the door. Victor's face had gone from white to this deep, dark red. His hands were shaking. His mother was staring at her plate like it held the secrets of the universe. My sister was grinning like she wanted to stand up and applaud. "Victor," I said, and I was so calm. I couldn't believe how calm I was. "You're going to pack a bag tonight. You're going to leave this apartment tomorrow. You can sleep on your mother's couch or Crystal's couch or anywhere else you want to go, but you're not staying here. I own this place. I own the business you're going to have to sign away your interest in, because we both know you've been using it as personal cash flow for your gambling. And I own your future, at least the part that pays back what you owe." "You can't do this," he said. He actually tried to grab the microphone back. "I can," I said, "and I am." Welcome to the consequences of thinking you can just announce you're leaving your wife at a party in front of everyone we know. You played that perfectly. You really did. You thought you'd humiliate me so thoroughly that I'd sign over everything just to make you go away. But the thing about me is, I know what I own. I know what I built, and I'm not apologizing for it, and I'm sure as hell not giving it away. I handed the microphone to the band. I sat back down. I finished my champagne. The party was over, obviously. People started leaving within the hour. Some came up to me first. My sister was crying happy tears. My brother shook my hand like I'd just won a war, which I guess, in some sense, I had. People told me I was strong and brave, and all the things they tell women who finally stop pretending their marriages are okay when they're not. Victor left around midnight. He packed a suitcase. He took one car, the one I let him take because I was feeling generous and I own both. He didn't say goodbye. The business dissolved, legally and cleanly. It took 3 months. He signed the paperwork without fighting because he knew I knew everything, and his lawyer told him he didn't have a leg to stand on. The apartment is mine. The money from the settlement, whatever he eventually gets from selling his interest in some failing ventures, goes toward his gambling debt and toward what the lawyer calculated he owes me in unpaid labor and stolen credit. Crystal posted on Instagram once something about false profits and wasted time. Then her account went private. I don't know whatever happened to her, and I don't particularly care. What I know is this. I'm 52 years old. I have a business that I built with my own 2 hands that puts food on my table and pays for everything I need. I have an apartment that nobody can take from me. I have a sister who would drive cross-country if I asked her to. I have a life that belongs entirely to me. And I know, not think, know that I'm worth something. A lot of women never find that out. A lot of women spend their whole lives waiting for someone else's permission to believe they matter. I almost did. I almost let Victor's disrespect become my own disrespect of myself. I almost traded my power for the comfort of being taken care of. And that's what it would have been, a comfort, a slow fade, a 25-year anniversary that turned into a 30-year anniversary, that turned into a retirement party where everyone whispered behind their hands about the poor woman who finally woke up when it was too late to start over. Except that's not what happened, because I was paying attention the whole time, because I never signed away what was mine, because I knew that a woman who builds something is worth more than a man who just shows up. So when people ask me if I regret the party, if I regret the humiliation, if I regret taking the microphone and saying all those things, the answer is no. I regret wasting 25 years on someone who didn't deserve 5. I regret thinking that his happiness mattered more than my own. I regret not seeing sooner that a partner who can stand in front of your community and disrespect you like that is not a partner at all. But that moment, when I walked up to that microphone, That's the moment I started being honest. That's the moment I stopped pretending. That's the moment I took back everything that was mine. And it turned out in the end that what was mine was everything that mattered.